Well, I think it's now 5:30, so we would like to welcome everyone here. My name is John Schwartz, and without further ado, let's get tonight's program started. And kicking things off will be the Vice President of Student Affairs, Lou Stark.
Great, thank you, John, and I am so pleased to be able to be here with all of you tonight for your recognition as Van Horn Society members. What you've accomplished in not only on the fields and the courts and in the pools and on the fields, but what you've accomplished academically has been nothing short of outstanding. And that's what we're here to recognize tonight. So we are so pleased that you're able to be with us. We wish it was our normal reception that we were able to have in the Delbert, but that will come back. I am just pleased that you're all here with us tonight. So congratulations. It's my honor to introduce President Scott Cowan, our president at Case Western Reserve University. President Cowan is an absolutely huge supporter of life outside of the classroom for students and was himself a college athlete. So he understands what you go through. He understands what it takes, the commitment, and he has experienced that. He's also a current member of the Knight Commission. So he's very involved to this day in intercollegiate athletics at the very highest levels. So it's a real honor to have him be able to join us tonight. And I'd like to introduce President Cowan.
Good, Lou. Thank you very much for that introduction, and good evening to all of you. Like so many events, I wish I could be with you in person and we could celebrate together. And hopefully there'll be another time for that this year. However, I am pleased to join this virtual reception to welcome our highest achieving student athletes into the Van Horn Society, honoring Dr. Frank Van Horn, a professor of geology at the Case Institute of Technology. Later in the program, we will hear more about Professor Van Horn from his grandson, Carl. Carl, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm also pleased to acknowledge Amy Backus, our outstanding athletic director and chair of our Department of Physical Education. A former student athlete herself, Amy knows firsthand how her academic achievements and her stellar career benefited from her time as a basketball player at Central Michigan University, where she was team captain in her senior year. We are fortunate to have her leading Case Western Reserve University's athletics and serving as an exceptional role model for our students. And yes, I was a student athlete myself in college. I was a football player. I played at the University of Connecticut, had a very undistinguished career. And I'm embarrassed to say that I would have never made the 3.8 GPA club. All of you have achieved that. But what I will say this, whatever successes I've had in life, I actually attribute it to being a student athlete, because the dedication, the commitment, and the passion you have to be successful as an athlete is all the attributes you need to be successful in life as well. So I admire all of you that you have the athletic ability and you clearly have the brain power, and therefore the sky is the limit for all of you. And in particular, this group are really exemplars among your 500 peers participating in Spartan Division III varsity teams in 19 different sports, including baseball, basketball, cross country, football, swimming and diving, soccer, track and field, softball, tennis, volleyball, and wrestling, and we are profoundly proud of you. In fact, I predict that one day one of you will be chairman of the board of Case Western Reserve University. Now, how do I know this? Fred DeSanto, who is now the chair of the board of the university, was a stellar student athlete at Case Western Reserve. His predecessor, Jim Wyatt, who was chairman of the board, was a superb student athlete at the university. So I don't know which one of you will get that honor, but one of you will someday be at the very head of this institution. I'm also very mindful of the disappointment you may have had this year when we had to make the unfortunate but necessary decision to cancel fall and winter sports due to the pandemic. I imagine it wasn't easy for you to miss a season of competition, but please believe me, we did this for your health and your well-being, which is our highest priority for all of you here at the university. Also, please know that we are grateful for all you have done for the university, for how well you represent the university nationally, for your leadership among our students, for the school spirit you nourish, the traditions you support, and so much more. Congratulations to all of you. I am now pleased to welcome John Schwartz, Associate Athletic Director and Sports Information Director. John?
Thank you very much, President Cowan. And now to introduce our 2020 Van Horn Society inductees. First, CHAITANYA ADURU, men's tennis. ANDREA ARLINE, women's track and field. Will Backer, men's swimming and diving. Ben Barrel, men's track and field. Kyle Barnard, men's track and field. Olivia Battistoni, women's track and field and cross country. Grace Bentley, women's track and field. Jacob Berg, football. Ryan Burns, men's track and field. Brandon CALLOW, wrestling. Matthew Chen, men's tennis. Peter Chin, men's track and field. Ella COPICH, women's soccer. Peter DERNELLE, men's soccer. Marley Dingle, volleyball. Joe Dinko, football. Carolyn DUDENHOEFFER, women's swimming and diving. Mary Eggers, women's swimming and diving. ELISE EPSTEIN, women's cross country. Charlie Fink, men's soccer. Bailey Flint, women's track and field. Thomas Gallagher, wrestling. Mason G. Montgomery, football. Ryan Gilbert, men's swimming and diving. D. Gose, football. Bailey Hagedorn, volleyball. Jacob Hall, men's soccer. Emma Hameleth, women's track and field. CJ Hill, women's swimming and diving. Earl Shea, men's tennis. Antonio IONADI, men's basketball. Nidhi Jha, women's tennis. Travis Johnston, football. Nick KADLECIK, football. Adam Cates, wrestling. Brian Kent, wrestling. Rachel LeBlanc, women's soccer. Neil Mabey, men's tennis. Ignace Massiulionis, men's basketball. Will McDonald, men's swimming and diving. Raul Michelinini, men's track and field and cross country. Sarah Miller, softball. Jackson Mitchell, football. Sam Nally, Baseball. KIERA Olson, women's track and field and cross country. Madeline PAOLUCCI, women's tennis. Kate Tashnik, women's swimming and diving. Eric RACHITA, men's track and field and cross country. Trey Razanowskis, men's cross country and track and field. Kyle Roberts, wrestling. Natalie Rothrock, volleyball. Jenna Ruccolo, women's soccer. Anna Scherf, women's track and field. Maggie Sarika, volleyball. Joey Schulich, wrestling. Luke Traverso, men's track and field. Madison Vargo, women's track and field cross country. Jack Vasilani, men's basketball. Sydney Wagner, softball. Annika Washburn, women's soccer. Lizzie White, women's soccer. Neil Weibel, men's swimming and diving. And Jacob Warner, men's swimming and diving. Congratulations to all of our 2020 Van Horn Society inductees.
Thank you so much, John. And I too want to say congratulations. Tonight, I am delighted to have with us Mr. Carl Van Horn, Dr. Frank Van Horn's grandson. Mr. Van Horn holds a doctorate in international affairs from Bologna, Johns Hopkins University, an MA in economics from Cambridge University, and he has an undergraduate degree from Yale. He was a gifted student athlete at both Yale and Cambridge, so he knows full well the determination to succeed in both of those domains. Mr. Van Horn is currently chairman at Jameson Vane Advisors, and we are so delighted that he can be with us tonight to share a few words about his grandfather, Dr. Van Horn. Carl, you're on mute.
Excuse me. All right. Thank you for this privilege of being with you on this very special occasion. Amy suggested that I might, in these few moments, share a few thoughts about my grandfather, Frank Van Horn. It was indeed 120 years ago, I repeat, 120 years ago, that the Count, as he was known, was asked to become the director of a program of sport at the Case Institute, which included only two activities, which were football and track and field. My grandfather, at that moment in his life, was only 30 years old. And he was certainly not a sporty sort of person. He was a professor of geology at Case Institute. And he had no prior experience whatsoever with overseeing a sports program, no matter how big or small, nor had he had any involvement in sports as such. His son, my father, I might just mention, was class of 26, and my father lettered in both football and in track. So the question I've often asked myself over the years is, why in heaven's name did the powers to be ask my grandfather to take on the task of this fledgling sports activity? And why, moreover, did he accept to do that? Well, it's very, very clear, I think, from the plaque in the lobby of the Beale Sports Center, that my grandfather was very much an entrepreneur. He was a can-do sort of guy. And he also had an immense affinity and rapport with students. So being only 30 years old, I can well imagine, as I say, that he seemed to be a likely candidate. And therefore the question is, well, why did my grandfather accept such a responsibility in addition to his teaching requirements in geology? Well, for that, one has to look a bit at his life history. He was a geology graduate of Rutgers University, and in 1896, repeat 1896, the graduate programs in geology and in many of the sciences were most often obtained from universities in Europe, which had a deep tradition going back to the 11th century of education of the highest standard. So my grandfather went and took his master's degree and graduate degree at the University of Heidelberg. And he lived with a family so that he was able to learn German and fulfill the language requirement. And also he was imbued and inculcated with the ethos of education in Europe at that time and still today, which was, as the president said, the education of the total person. And the curriculums of the universities in Europe today, and Heidelberg in particular, were very much framed by the Grecian ethic of education of the total person. That's to say mind, heart, and also body. So it was not surprising that my grandfather, having been introduced to this totality, accepted with enthusiasm and commitment the offer to become the person responsible for case sport at that time. He served in that capacity for 26 years. And during that time, he did not build, but he arranged for the building of what was at a time a massive stadium, which is now where the Veal Center is. And he also hired one of the first professional football coaches. And believe it or not, Case at that time was a powerhouse in football. They beat Purdue, they beat Ohio State, Wesleyan, and so forth. So the Van Horn, nothing could be more fitting than for the support that the university has given to the Van Horn Society and the recognition of the commitment, as the president said, to the total human being, the mind, the body, and the soul. So it is with immense pride that I congratulate all of you on this recognition. And as the president said, I'm sure that the Count and as well as myself would understand and empathize with the disappointment that you share, naturally not being able to participate in competitive sports, but at the same time, needs must, and the fact is that you've been able to do your activities amongst yourselves as a group during these past few days. I just might make a final comment, which is that I have 3 boys. They're actually about the same age as you are, believe it or not. They're in their mid-20s. And I am absolutely certain that one of them, if not all 3 of them, if they're invited, will welcome the opportunity to present to the Van Horn Society 10, 20, 30 years from now. That's what tradition is all about. Thank you, Amy, for this privilege.
Thank you so much, Carl. And what a wonderful gift. What a wonderful gift your grandfather made to CWRU athletics. It was so great that you could join us tonight and share that history and that connection and the story behind the Count. So again, we so appreciate you being with us. I too would like to offer my congratulations to our most outstanding student athletes. It is an honor to be the athletic director at an institution where student athletes compete at the highest levels, both academically and athletically. The past 9 months have really tested you both as students and as athletes. And your grade in my book has been an A+ with your grace and resiliency in these really, really difficult times. I want to say a very appreciative thank you for those on the call who continue to support us, the many faculty liaisons and members of our student affairs team, President Cowan, Provost Vinson, VP Lou Stark, all champions of our athletic programs who worked tirelessly so that we can have opportunities to practice this fall on campus. And when we are all back on campus, I invite you to visit the beautiful Van Horn Society plaque, which is just outside Horsburgh Gymnasium. Your names will be on the plaque until the next installation of the Van Horn Society next year. And you will also receive your leather-bound Van Horn Society certificate when we meet again. So congratulations and thank you again for your hard work as our highest achieving Spartans. Now we expect you to keep up that GPA as you approach the finals exam week this week. And I know that you will continue to do so and make us proud. So I want to thank everyone and congratulate everyone again who was on the call and to help us make this happen. Thank you and have a great evening. Good luck on your final exams.